50 minutes. I imagine we'll get quite a few questions.
Okay.
We try to finish at 7:30.
Okay.
But this group's gonna, when I get to know you.
Thank you for adjusting my schedule.
What's that?
Thank you for adjusting my schedule. I know I was supposed to come a couple weeks ago, but yeah.
So I graduated in 68 and I taught social work for 17 years. Position Barb Birch.
Yeah, I love Barb.
You want to use that as a lecture, or just you don't have notes?
I don't have any notes. I'll just use the PowerPoint, but thank you. Hello. Hi there.
Please silence cell phones before we begin this program. There will be a time for questions and answers, and I know many of you have questions for President Young, so we will certainly allow time for that. You're not hearing me? A little closer. Okay, I got to remember that. I will repeat, please silence cell phones. And there will be time for question and answer at the end of Dr. Young's presentation. And I'm sure there will be lots of questions, and I will bring you the mic. I am delighted to welcome Dr. Stacy Young, Manchester University's 16th president. President Young is a 1996 graduate of Manchester College. Before returning to her alma mater, she worked in economics, in accounting and business, and began her career teaching in higher education. She has had a number of roles in administration and presidency in colleges in Michigan. She completed her Doctor of Philosophy in leadership from Andrews University in Berrien Springs, Michigan. Most recently, President Young came from the presidency of Montcalm Community College. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In Sydney, Michigan. Please welcome Dr. Stacy Young.
Thank you. So can you all hear me okay? Or should I move this up? Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much. It feels so good to be here. I don't think anyone's been this excited to see me today. I've sat through 2 super long meetings. My last one started at 1 and it just ended at like 6:15. So I think they were glad to get rid of me. So thank you so much. I'll just get started. This is essentially the same presentation I just gave our board of trustees a couple of weeks ago. So hot off the press. I did fill it with lots of pictures from the last couple of months. I started July 1st, so about 3 months worth of time. And I've been busy on campus. I wanted to make sure that's been kind of part of what I've been doing is just trying to get to know our students and faculty and staff and getting to do great things like this. It was, I'll talk about this in a second, but it was just really important for me to get out and about with all of our folks, just because of, it's been a busy couple years at Manchester, and I'm sure you've heard we went through some budget cuts, and I think people were kind of down in the dumps, so we're trying to breathe a little bit different kind of energy into campus. The first thing I did was I shared with our board some of our stats from our undergraduate students. We had a good size incoming class. We're right at total students for this year, 1,175. 26% of our students are first generation students. So that means no one in their family had ever been to college before. It always surprises me that we still have so many people that have never been to school before. Just always surprises me. 17 different high schools, or 17 high school students are at Manchester. That's a number we're really hoping to grow. 22% of our students are students of color. The male and female ratio is just about even, just about. 86% of our students come from Northern Indiana, and 69% of our students come from Indiana. So essentially, we have a big number of our students just coming right from Indiana. Only 2% of our students are Church of the Brethren, and almost 72% retention rate, which is really, really good for higher ed. So we're really proud of that number. So I had told the board these were kind of my first 100 days. By the way, this is a softball team. They were having a scrimmage game a month ago or so. The first thing I wanted to address was campus culture, because I knew we had, it's just been a rough time. We also had to try to get our Doctor of Physical Therapy program accreditation done. We have had a strategic plan that's about a year old, but not many people knew about it. So we wanted to make sure we lifted that up. Of course, just getting to know people. I don't know if some of you have heard about the big Lilly grant that we have the opportunity to get. It's about $25 million. The only downside to that is that we have to match the $25 million with $50 million. Good and bad. So we've been working on that. We also, do we have any educators in the room? Teachers, past teachers? There's a Science of Reading grant with the Lilly Foundation. We've been working on that. My background's accounting, so we've been working on that budget a little bit because we had some things to work on there. I also did an alumni survey, and this is said in love, but the alumni survey went to people of college-age students. So if you're an alum, how many alums do we have in the room? Oh, this is wonderful. But the survey went out to people about my age who have students that are either getting ready or just starting to think about college, or maybe they're just out of college. We did that on purpose, and so I'll talk about that in a few minutes. I've had a lot of stakeholder meetings. I went out, I've been talking to superintendents and economic development people and just people all over the community. Of course, students, faculty, and staff as well. And I already mentioned that overall goal of the strategic plan. So when the board asked me, what's your plan? My plan is our strategic plan that we have had set. And that's kind of our roadmap of what we're going to do. So I'll have to make sure, if you haven't seen a copy of that, I should have brought a stack of those, but I did not tonight. This is a picture from Camp Mac. Who has been to Camp Mac as a Manchester student? It's fun. It's still fun. So since I've started, and this number's changed because I meet with people almost every day, I've met with over 108 of our employees. And I asked everybody on campus, to meet with me one-on-one for 30 minutes. And I'm a chatter, so typically what happens is we meet for a little longer than that. One of the things I discovered that there was a little bit of disconnect between administration and especially the North Manchester faculty. So I've invited all of the faculty leadership from both campuses and the staff leadership from both campuses, and we meet on a regular basis every couple of weeks, and we talk about things. We talk about the budget, we talk about things that have popped up, and part of that's just so that we have a lot of communication and a lot of transparency about what's happening. And I talk about transparency and accountability. That was one thing I heard through my 108 meetings, that people want more transparency and more communication. So we're trying to do that more. I wish I could, of course, we've had all colleague meetings, but those are just a little bit bigger and harder to chat with issues. So that's why we have those leaders in the room. People have been really hurt. I think part of it is because we went through some of those budget cuts. And if I know we have some people in the room who remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but the very basic level of that is feeling safe at work. And so if you're worried every day when you come into work, if you're going to get fired or let go, that you start to act this is just human nature, we just don't act ourselves. And then we're not as productive. And so I think that's kind of what was happening. People were really just worried about what was going to happen. So I've spent a lot of time talking with people and telling them that, and I don't want to do any cuts. Of course, the budget's tight. In fact, I would just rather grow instead of cutting. So we've been having a lot of conversations about that. We've been having conversations about faith and what that means on campus. One of the things that I said when I first got hired on and people were surprised about is that I felt like God brought me back to Manchester, and people were surprised that I said God on campus. And so, which sounds kind of funny, since faith is part of our mission statement, it's also part of our faiths or our values, and we have it all over our website. So it's been a kind of a conversation on campus about what that means to Manchester. The other thing I did is, because I knew we had some cultural issues, I read 5 books about culture. And here's, I don't want you to have to go read 5 books about culture. I'll just tell you, here's my summary, and that's just treat others as you would want to be treated. That's the gist of 5 books on culture. Did you know that we were trying to get our accreditation for our Doctor of Physical Therapy program in Fort Wayne? So sadly, the first time we went to our accreditors for that, and that was back before I started, I think it was probably last, February, March, we got the news that we did not meet the requirements. So we had to try again. And so the first couple months here, I've been meeting with the team that's working on that every morning at 8 a.m. And we've been working on that. Yesterday, is today Tuesday? Yesterday, we had our interview for that. So now we wait. We wait until around Thanksgiving. We'll get an official answer on that. And so these are some of the things that we did. We hired another consultant. We made it a high priority for everyone on campus. So besides myself, we had our vice president, our dean, and then the people working on this every morning at 8 a.m. for 2 months. I guess it was August and September and part of October. And then we also had to figure out, if we do not get it, what that's going to mean, because there's a lot of dollars tied to this. So if it doesn't work, we need to figure out what that might mean for us. So we've been working on that as well. As an accountant, I like to have plan B ready. My husband makes fun of this dress. He calls it my Manchester dress, but I got it from my favorite store. They just happened to come out right when I got the position. They came out with it. It was a perfect dress for Manchester. But every time I put it on, he goes, "Oh no, the Manchester dress is coming out." I think when I was doing my going through the interview process, a lot of the board asked me a lot, how did you get so much done at your previous institution? And my answer was that we worked our strategic plan and everybody knew what the plan was. And I know that sounds really elementary, but that's what we did. So a lot of times, I don't know if you've ever worked at a place where they make a strategic plan and nobody knows what it is, or it just kind of goes up on a shelf somewhere and you spend all this time working on it and then nobody even knows what happened to it. So we made sure everybody has a copy of it, and these banners are posted on the inside of every door. And that's just so every single person talks about it. And when I send out memos on campus, we say what part of the strategic plan we are doing. So tonight, I'm actually doing part of the strategic plan. Part of the strategic plan is to tell the Manchester story. So you guys are helping me tonight. We also had hired a consultant. This is, again, before my time when Dr. McFadden was there, and they were in the middle of that. So I told the board, we weren't just going to hire a consultant and just forget about that, even though Dr. McFadden left. I was going to make sure that we continued to do that work. So we're continuing that, and that's that Credo work. So This is the Ortho Winger Band when they were practicing in the lobby of Schwam Hall. Some of you mentioned you came to the opening convo. It was a rocking good time. These faculty members, maybe you recognize some of them, faculty and staff, they played some songs, some rock songs for students. I had met with students. This is, again, part of that transparency and accountability. I asked students what they wanted in opening convo, and so they told me they wanted to understand about what was happening at the university. They wanted to be inspired, and they wanted free stuff, and they wanted to be fed. I made sure we had all of those parts in opening convo, and so that was really fun. But I've been attending club events with students, and I'll tell you, club events for students start late. I get up at 3:45. Student events start at 8 or 9 p.m. It's hard for me to go to those, but I go and try to stay awake. And then my husband and I have been going to lots of athletic events. I love to have lunch with students. In fact, a couple weeks ago, I had a group of students. I was all excited because they invited me to lunch, but they had a complaint they wanted to tell me about. So I thought it was for fun, but it was about a complaint. But we got that taken care of. I also give my cell phone number out to all of our students so that they can call me or text me or whatever. Funny story, the one call I got, it was like at 9:30 at night, which I already told you, I go to bed early. And I got a call at 9:30, and it was a student. It was like after the first week of classes. And he said, I think Camp Mac Day is tomorrow. Because do you remember that they keep this a secret? They don't tell anybody when Camp Mac Day is. Even I don't know when Camp Mac Day is. And they go through the dorms and they like hit pans and they make lots of noise and wake students up to go to Camp Mac. It's a big surprise. Only like 5 people know what day it is on campus. And again, I don't know. But I had a student call me and say at 9:30 at night, I'm afraid I'm going to miss Camp Mac Day. Can you please tell me when it is? I think it's tomorrow. And I said, I don't even know when Camp Mac Day is. And he said, seriously? And I said, I have no idea. He goes, but I am afraid I'm going to sleep through all the commotion. And I said, I assure you, you're not going to sleep through the commotion. But he was so worried. And then I felt bad that I didn't know, but I really didn't know. Anyway, he was at Camp Mac. It was all good. But that's the time that a student used my cell phone number, and I laughed about it a lot. And then I mentioned I've met with over 108 faculty and staff. I've had 31 this is as of a couple weeks ago, meetings, coffee, tea, whatever, with stakeholders out in the community. At that point, I had attended 18 Manchester events and 19 sporting events. But this is a couple weeks ago. I think I tripled that last Saturday. Or had 3 more, I should say, that I added. And I don't know if you can see up there, those all those strategic plan 2A, 2, 2C, 2, those reference our strategic plans. So even when I talk to the board, we're tying everything I'm doing back to our strategic plan. This is that Lilly grant I was talking about. I don't know if you recognize some of these people, Dr. Miller, Dr. Streeter, and in this picture on the right, and then there were some students there. But so the whole point of this grant from the Lilly Foundation is to figure out how the college or the university can connect with the community better. And so we've done a lot of focus groups, and these are the kind of short list of things that we've come back with. We're working with a consultant, education, housing, and amenities. So of course there's a housing shortage in the area. The idea is that we want to impact enrollment, but also we would like more faculty and staff to live in the community. And a lot of them tend to be, living in Fort Wayne or other places. So we really would like we'd rather them live here, but if there's no houses for them to live in, they can't. So we're working on these. So, and all the ideas, there's lots of things coming out. If you think about where the administration building was, across the street, like when I was a student here, there were a bunch of houses. One of the things we're talking about, and this is just one idea that has come out of these focus groups, and this has been with students, faculty, staff, and lots of community members. In fact, some of you in this room might have been interviewed, I'm not sure. But like one of the ideas that's come out is that we would build like townhouses along College Avenue for faculty and staff, and maybe upper level like seniors. Other amenities, one idea that has come out is a river trail from the university all the way to downtown. So that's another idea that's come out. And then have an amphitheater or something in downtown, and like maybe some other businesses that kind of sprout up as a result of that. So those are some of the amenities that have been coming out as a result of this work. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with Imagine 185. That was some work that was done a couple of years ago for the county. It's a list of 85 different ideas. And so that's been comboed with some of the work we're doing. And a lot of the people like Patty Grant and Alex Downard and Keith Gillenwater, who works with the Grow Wabash, they're also on this with us. So we're all working together on this project. And again, it's $25 million, but we have to match it with 50. That's the problem. This is from homecoming. This picture's from homecoming. I don't remember what class this was. The budget. So this is, again, my accounting background coming out. But really, the main thing on the entire strategic plan that we need to do is grow enrollment. We need to get more people to come to Manchester, because that helps everything else. That helps us renovate dorms. That helps us have more money to pay people. That helps with everything. One of the things that we're doing is we're going to start having more transparency. And I know that this sounds really simple, but if we start measuring things, people will pay attention to them more. Enrollment, we are inviting them into our cabinet meetings twice a month. Our budget, I'm used to the entire team going through the budget together, and so we started doing that. It's a little bit painful. We most recently spent 8 hours going through the budget. 65% of our costs are tied up with people, and so now we go through every position that's going to be hired and talk about them. We ask, do we still need the position? And then we develop a salary range together, and really just check ourselves when we're doing that, because since employees are our highest cost, we want to make sure that when we hire somebody, it's the right move. I already mentioned that I've been meeting with faculty and staff and saying to them, telling them or explaining to them where we're at, but also getting their input. The first time I met with them, they said, so what are you going to cut? And I said, I'm not going to cut anything. And they said, I am going into all of those meetings looking for ideas from them as much as talking to them about what we're doing. And I think that's a little bit of a change for some of them, that they're part of the solution, not that we're just going to come in and make cuts. And we of course will always be looking for ways to save money, but most importantly, we're looking for ways to grow. So an example of this is our health science programs in Fort Wayne are great, and they bring in a lot of revenue, and that's great, but they're expensive to run. So we are really trying to find other programs that will bring in students that maybe aren't so costly. So I used to always joke, because I taught accounting and business, we could literally put folding chairs up in the back of the room to get bigger class sizes. And because accounting and business, we don't need much, right? We don't need fancy labs and things like that. So those are the kinds of things we're looking for. What can we grow? It looks like we're going to bring back and do an MBA program with different areas for concentrations. So we're excited about that. And again, that doesn't cost us a lot of money to do that. And I guess I kind of talked about this. The students made a cardboard cutout of me. For homecoming, it was dorm decoration time, and it was a little spooky because it was big, it was life size. And they have taken me to events, my flat version of myself. They're taking around to events, but it is so funny. So, And I was really upset. They spent 3 hours on this the week before midterms. So I don't know what they were thinking. But I already mentioned that enrollment growth is key. That survey that I mentioned that we sent to people around my age, we asked them, if you have kids that are ready to go to college, are they looking at Manchester? We asked, if you already had kids that graduated, did they come to Manchester? If not, why? We get data. If we have a student who is in our funnel process thinking about Manchester and then decides not to come, we know why. We ask them. One of my concerns is we have people out there that are not even considering Manchester to begin with. So we wanted to try to understand why. 25% of the alumni, we had about a 10% response rate, which is pretty good, pretty decent. 25% of the people that responded, over 200 people, said cost, that they are not sending their students to Manchester because of cost. Another group of them felt like we had gotten away from faith as much as we probably should have. We learned some other things. Housing, our student housing, I mean, it had been 30 years since I had walked through our housing units, and I walked through this summer, and they haven't changed a bit. So that's a little bit of a problem. What else did I learn in that? Lots of comments. A lot of students are interested in being engineers, and of course, we don't have an engineering program. So that's another thing we need to talk about and think about. I don't see us doing that necessarily, but the other thing I did was I went to our admissions team, held a retreat, and I went and attended that, and we talked a lot about what we were working on. Enrollment growth has been kind of one of my gifted areas in my career. At my first school, we grew our School of Business from 100 students to 600 students in 3 years. Then they said, go and fix our satellite campus. And so we fixed that in one semester by 20%. We grew that campus 20% in one semester. And then when I went to Montcalm, we, in 1 year, we went from the bottom of all the community colleges to the top in 1 year. So it's been one of my areas that I like and enjoy. I think it's because I worked in admissions here at Manchester as a student. And if anyone knows Jill Beal, do you remember Jill in admissions, for those of you who worked at Manchester? And she's still there. She was there when I was a student. She hasn't changed one minute in all those years. I forgot that I had this slide with all this. By the way, this is some alumni out in Washington State. 50 mentions of cost. Some people said it was too close to home. Other people mentioned it was too far away, so that one is kind of funny. 35 said that their kids were playing sports at other schools. 84 mentioned that Manchester didn't have the right best program, and the number one that we saw was engineering. Too small, too far from home, student housing, and then some people said we were too conservative, and then some people said that we were too liberal. So, yeah, good times. So here are some of our just kind of quick enrollment ideas. One of my big things is leaning into the things that we're really good at. When I was a student, it was accounting. If you were going to be an accountant in Indiana, you came to Manchester. If you were pre-med, pre-health, pre-dentist, pre-vet, you came to Manchester. If you were going to be a teacher, you came to Manchester. So one of the things we're talking about is how can we really remind people that Manchester is the place to be for some of these programs. We're talking about doing a student-run business, accepting transfer associate's degrees as a whole, things like the LPN program as a whole from like Ivy Tech. We're talking about that a little bit. We have some other, what I would call easy wins, like right now our students going into our pharmacy program need some prerequisites in the summer if they're coming from other schools. And right now they're going to other schools to take those. So we want to be able to offer those. And so we're asking faculty to develop those prerequisites so we can we can get the money for those, because sometimes what happens is students go to another school to do the prereqs and they stay there for the pharmacy program. So we don't like that. We're also working with all of our area high schools. And what I would love to see is pathways directly from high school into Manchester. I think having a university in your county is really special, and we need to remind students that we're here. It's funny, one of our board members said that she lives in Wabash and parents are still surprised that Manchester University exists. So that's not good. We need to be telling our story better. This is some of our alumni in Oregon. I was out there a couple of weeks ago. So I mentioned that I've been doing some stakeholder meetings. I got to sit down with, of course, Dr. Dave McFadden, Dr. Joe Young-Switzer, and Dr. Bill Robinson. If you remember him, he was the president when I started in 1992. I've already mentioned a lot of this, meeting with donors and student groups and other partners out there. So, for example, because of all of our health programs, I meet with Parkview Health quite a bit and other hospitals in the area. So, spending a lot of time doing that. You guys probably recognize Mr. Good, this past soccer coach. I think he worked in buildings and grounds. We also, the board wanted to know what kind of 5 key things we were focused on. And these are our top 5 key performance indicators that we watch. So almost every cabinet member has something that they're watching on a daily or monthly basis. So this is a picture from homecoming. And this is it Dave Good, right? Dave Good? That's his son. That's his son in the picture. You guys probably know these people better than I do. So a lot of the board always likes to know what's happening with our health science program. You probably heard we're doing a $20 million expansion at the Fort Wayne campus, and that should be ending and finishing up in the spring. I already talked about that DPT accreditation. We also had a pharmacy accreditation visit that went really well. Nursing, we have a new director of our nursing program, and I think she's going to really grow the program. We already made some changes. The nursing program, it used to be that you had to come to North Manchester for 2 years and then find your own housing in Fort Wayne for 2 years. And a lot of parents, and I would have been one of these parents, we said, we don't really want our kids having to go into Fort Wayne to find housing. So now the whole program can be done in North Manchester with some smaller trips to Fort Wayne from time to time to use the labs there. So by just making that little tiny change, we've already quadrupled our numbers that we are going to have for next fall by making that one. And so this is some of the revenue growth I was talking about that cost us nothing. All we did was make that change, and already our numbers have gone up as a result of it. So those are the kind of wins we're looking for. I already mentioned some cultural issues. They were having those in Fort Wayne as well. And then this is just a long list of the goals that I've been kind of working on. I've mentioned a lot of these, but this is all in one spot. So everything from working our strategic plan, that's my main goal, to getting to know people on campus, investigating those new revenue streams, working on some past work with that consultant. A lot of that was to streamline and make new processes. Enrollment, of course, our budget, and stabilizing our health science programs. Because while those are terrific, we really needed to help them. We have some room to grow in many of those programs, although our pharmacy numbers were really strong this year. So these are just some pictures. Remember those nursing students I told you I thought I was getting invited to lunch just because? This was them. And that was fun. And then our tennis team. Some students invited me to play games. There's a game club, like board game club on campus. And I thought I was going to play like Monopoly or Uno or something like that. No. They have different games than I'm used to playing. The game that they had me playing that night was called Exploding Kittens. It was disturbing. There are, I don't know if you knew this or not, but I have an identical twin sister, Tracy. She's a first grade teacher. And there were 5 of us in college that were really close. My sister Tracy, myself, and then we had 3 friends. 2 are teachers, 2 more are teachers, and then my friend Stacy is also an accountant. And this is one of our friends from college. She has a daughter. So 2 of our 5 have kids at Manchester right now. So, and then just some more pictures from the marching band and the first football game. I was on the radio. And then if you ever come to campus on Monday, it's called Manchester Monday. So we all dress in school colors. And on that particular day, I found 2 of our admissions folks that we were being twins. Well, triplets, I guess. And then this picture right here is Tim Ogden, who was one of my favorite professors when I was here, and he's still at Manchester, which is just incredible to me. And that is Bill Robinson and his wife, Bonnie. They visited, that's a picture at Tall Oaks. And then the Rotary Club, which I got to join, I was really active in my community up north. And so the Rotary was one of the ways that I got really active. So I joined our North Manchester Rotary group. And at Tall Oaks, we often entertain students. So this was at an ice cream social. And this is the president at IU. She was in town, so I got a picture with her. That was fun. Well, she was in Wabash. The left is a picture of Becky Stolzfus from She's the Goshen College president. I don't know if you know this. Last week, I was with all of the independent college presidents across the state. So we were all together last week, and I sat next to Becky there as well. This picture is a group of, I think they were 2,000 grads, but the girl on the end is my youngest sister, Kelly, and I crashed their pool party one day. They were having a pool party. And then the picture on the right is one of our alums out in Washington. It's funny, for those of us who know Manchester as Manchester College, when people wear gear, we all think we're cool. I also do. But he showed up in his Manchester College gear, so we like that. And then that's the Peace Studies Club meeting. They invited me. Their meeting starts at 9 on Monday nights. So this was a painful meeting for me to be at just because I was really tired. But they asked amazing questions. That group asked amazing questions. And I mentioned Jill Beal in the middle here. She celebrated 49 years of working at Manchester. Who can say that? Beata is one of the English faculty, but she does paintings. I don't know if you've ever met her. Her paintings are everywhere. This is the Fort Wayne campus. I took a picture outside one day when I was getting a tour. So what questions do you have for me? Oh, go ahead.
Yes, it seems like you've got off to a very positive start and have certainly got yourself involved in the community. I'm wondering now, because of how good a job you might do, what's your commitment to staying here?
Well,
I really
this is my last stop. As long as they'll have me. I told my husband, because it's hard. I loved my old school, but I really felt like I was called home. I had some people contact me about if I was going to apply when Dr. McFadden announced his retirement. And I thought, well, I've got a great thing going here. And I just started praying about it because I really felt like if I was supposed to come back, I was kind of challenging God in some ways. Like, if this happens, I'll apply. If this happens, and I just kept moving the next mile marker, so to speak. And it was abundantly clear to me that this was I'm supposed to be here. And so when I'm having a bad day, I actually just say a prayer, and I'm like, I know I'm supposed to be here. Just help me make the right decisions. And So it feels really good. And really, I'm turning 50 this year in like a month and a half. And I don't want any other job. So this is it for me. It's too hard. It's too hard to start over. So my sister and I should say, are turning 50. And Marilyn and Dick Groves are back there. And so I'm guessing Tony's turning 50, already turned 50? Yeah. He's turning 50 in December. Oh, us too. December 13th. So yeah, this is the last stop for me. So, and it really, honestly, it's kind of surreal. It's a dream job. I mean, who gets to work at their alma mater? When I was up north, people would say, Stacy's leaving. And then it always was followed, but she's going to her alma mater. And everyone said, oh, okay.
I haven't heard any mention in all of this about the possibility of a campus chaplain.
Yes, it's something, that faith conversation we've been having, definitely part of it. I'm trying to work it back into the budget because it's been out. And I'll tell you what our challenge has been. Students were not attending chapel. So it was really hard for them to keep the position when the person left. And this was before I started, so I don't know. But it was really hard to work it back in because they said, well, students weren't attending. However, I've asked some more questions, and I think I'm starting to understand why they weren't attending. One of them was the time we were holding chapel was good for the person, but maybe not so good for our students. So I'm kind of chasing down some of those things, but now I have to work it back in the budget. I also need to put a new roof on Petersheim Chapel. That's another challenge. So, yeah, it needs a new roof. I thought we should have a work day and we all just do it. But our business officer said he feels that there would be liability issues with that. But I thought that, I mean, like Habitat for Humanity right on campus. I mean, I thought it would be a good thing, but he said no. But yes, it's on my radar for sure.
What's your strategy for recruiting some good football players?
Oh. Well, I'll tell you what.
Could you ask the question so I understand?
What's your strategy for recruiting some good football players?
So we have this new coach, and I've talked to him a couple of times. I will tell you, have you met him? He's super young to me. He looks super young to me, but I've been talking with him, and he has set a high bar for our football team. Now, what I've been told is he came in, I think, March or April-ish. So the team that we have today, he did not get to recruit. That's what I was told. So it's a building year. That's, again, what I was told. So he has told me that he is raising the bar, and I hope to expect some different things. But based on what I have learned, it could take a couple of years. Yeah, my husband follows the stats of the football team, and I don't know a lot about football, but it's clear to me we're not doing that great this year. That is my scientific opinion of our football team. Yeah, you're right, though. It's kind of painful. It's like 500 or 600 points to like 28 or something. It's terrible.
This is, for what it's worth, not a question, but just a statement to a little feedback about your faculty and staff being involved in our community. I'm a member of the local history center, and one of your vice presidents
Abby?
is also, Abby is a member of our board. So I sat with her at our last meeting, and we have them on Monday night. We're always excited about her black and gold, because they're colorful, and she looks so nice. So some of us been wearing black and gold too, because it's Monday night, and gee whiz, we're many of us are alumni of Manchester as well. But I can tell at our first meeting this fall, she had a totally different attitude about being there. And I asked her, I said, are things different? the college. Well, it's the college to me. Most of us, it's the college, right? Okay, so we call it the college. And she said, absolutely. She said, it's totally different. And she says, I love it.
Oh, good.
So, you know, that is just for what it's worth.
Oh, no,
You
I
need-
appreciate that.
You
Thank
need to know that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I was trying to decide where you were going with that for a second. I got a little worried.
Dr. Young, I'm interested in enrollment. You gave us a number at the beginning of the presentation. I know that's the total enrollment, both Fort Wayne and North Manchester campus. What's the breakdown between the two?
Yeah, it was on that first slide. I always have to check it because I have so many numbers in my brain. I think it's like 822 for undergrad. 912 for undergrad. I don't know where I got 822.
Yeah, that was an interesting number for me because I graduated in 1959, and that was the number in 1959. And we've got to do a whole lot better attracting students to the Manchester campus and the programs here. I love the health sciences, things that we're doing in Fort Wayne, but I really hope we can work hard on enrollment in the North Manchester in the programs that are here.
I absolutely agree. And when I was here, it was 1,003 because I worked in admissions, I remember. And that was, of course, the whole school because we didn't have Fort Wayne at the time. The other interesting thing is what I would like to do is become known as like the place to come if your health science is anything. So maybe you're pre-med, but you get to the end of your program and don't get into med school or whatever. What we're hearing, like I want to show students that there's a pathway for them, whether it's nursing or pharmacy or one of our other health programs. But what I've learned from our Fort Wayne faculty is our North Manchester students, when they go to Fort Wayne, are the best students. So they keep asking, they keep saying we need more of them. And last year it was only 12. Only 12 students came from North Manchester to Fort Wayne. So we absolutely need to drive that number up. That would be a huge opportunity for us. And again, they're doing better. So we need more of them.
I would be curious of the ones that didn't go to Fort Wayne. How many were they and where did they go?
Yes.
I kept those statistics for 20 years before I retired.
Yeah.
And it's an important issue
Mm-hmm.
that acceptance rate of applicants into the graduate program.
Yeah.
And not just medical school, although that's the one that drew the most attention.
Right.
It was also, the allied health fields of veterinary school, dental
Yeah.
school, and so on. But also other fields getting people going on for a doctorate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's important if your philosophy students go on for a PhD,
Yeah.
if your musicians go on for a PhD
Right.
or at least a terminal degree in their field. And those statistics carry a lot of weight with parents of
Yeah.
first-year students. First-year students identify the job that they're most familiar with.
Right.
And that's what you talk to them about. But
Yeah.
the other numbers are important to the parents.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Oh.
I keep hearing reports that ACT and SAT scores are dropping on young people graduating from high
Yeah,
school.
nationwide.
And how is that affecting what you're doing as well as how you're dealing with it?
Yeah, we have a summer bridge program now. So COVID learning loss was a real thing. Of course, you don't have to submit ACT or SAT scores. In fact, a lot of schools have moved away from it and are using other measurements to look at students when they come in. But COVID learning loss, if you think about this year's incoming class, were freshmen when COVID hit. And so it is causing a little bit of interesting things happening. I was talking to one faculty member and he told me that it feels like his classes are full of haves and have-nots. You either have really, really, really good students and then those that are kind of at the bottom. And so having to teach kind of to both has been interesting, he said. But it's something we're paying attention to. You probably know this already because you probably had other speakers, but every student has a student success advisor. And so this is someone that they can go to and they should go to throughout the whole semester if they're struggling or anything like that. And then they can connect them with the right resources that they might need. But this is a nationwide problem. This is not just a Manchester problem. We dealt with it a lot at the school I was at. That's why I'm so impressed with our retention rates despite this. But it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. So.
Is there hope for the revival of the music department?
Well, so the music department has not gone away. 2 faculty positions were cut. I'm sure you know which ones because it's kind of before my time, but made a lot of headlines, I think, for people. We still have our choir. We're still going to have a choir. We're still going to have a lot of other things. But the problem was, and even this year, total majors for everything music related, everything is 17. And we had 4 faculty tied to 17 students. It just didn't work. And so I understand why the decisions were made, but we're still going to have all of those other things. We just won't have 4 full-time faculty tied to the music program, just 2 after this year. So it hasn't gone away. We still have a good number of students that want to be involved. It's just we cannot have so many full-time faculty tied to it. So it's probably my number 1 question I get. Yeah. But this is why I want to grow things instead of cutting things, because if we can grow those numbers, then we have a need for that. So you're getting your steps in today.
Good exercise. Thank you. I have a question concerning the strategic plan. Great ideas. And they can be done very thoroughly, but they also involve mission statements and so on. And we're dealing with a historic residential liberal arts campus and with a city urban-based allied health program. And the marketing of the two really, to be effective, to attract people to a residential liberal arts environment is different than an urban job-centered allied health field. And the budgets are tied together. Originally, I listened to a lot of marketing speak about why pharmacy school in Fort Wayne was a great idea to benefit the local Manchester College. And I don't think you're going to go into it, but it was implied to be a tremendous percentage of the extra funds funnel back here because the campus needed it. Nevertheless, Manchester has a lot of undergraduate majors, all of them with identifiable goals, all of them with a track record as far as putting students into graduate programs, professional programs, and success with first employment. And similarly, you can do the same thing for the allied health field, but you start mixing the two together and you get mixed messages from it. Within the strategic plan, has it identified cultural differences between the two that have historically been important, but unfortunately we can't afford to continue them? Or are there strategic differences which should be built on because it would strengthen the two programs as they go different, as they are going different directions? How do you attract students to that difference?
Yeah, it's such a good question. In fact,
oh, by the way, physics decades ago had a program that put engineering students through 4 years at Manchester College and on to terminal degrees at
I just talked to Greg Clark about this last week.
Oh,
yeah, I just talked to him about that very issue last week. So as far as the strategic plan question goes, part of the strategic plan is one Manchester so that we work together. But when I met with all of, and when I was interviewing, one of the things I was told was that the cultural differences were between both campuses. What I have learned is that's not the case. In fact, everybody kind of recognizes that they're two different places, but we have to lift both of them up in order for Manchester to be successful. They need each other, absolutely. And so you're right about how we market those. I think that's a really good point, and I'm digging into our marketing right now. In fact, in my email right now, I have how we're spending our marketing dollars. So it's a really good point. But as far as the One Manchester goes, I think what I've discovered is it's okay that we have these differences, and there really isn't the clash that I was told that we have. Maybe at some point in the last 10 years there was, but I don't think that's the issue now. Like I said, I've talked to over 108 people. That's just not risen to, now we do have some issues between administration and North Manchester faculty. I think that as a result of the cuts that had to be made. Now, one of the things I continue to say is that we have to grow the pathways between the two campuses because we can help each other that way. And so we're working on some of that. But you're right. They are two different things, and we might have to advertise them different and talk about them differently. But there are places that we can also come together. But yeah, it's an interesting point, and definitely one I'm kind of watching, but it's weird because part of our strategic plan is One Manchester. So, and it was a plan developed by people before me. It was a year old when I came in. So I'm having to figure that out a little bit.
Do we have another question? I think we have time for one more.
This isn't a question, this is just an announcement. On the little end table at the back, there is a listing of all of our programs and the topics for Friends of Manchester for the rest of the year. So I asked it to be photocopied on gold paper.
Nice.
She said, well, we have goldenrod.
It's perfect.
Close enough.
It's perfect.
Now, I only had 48 copies. I only copied. I thought, well, that's probably a pretty good number. Well, there's about 60 people here. So if you want, for couples, just take one for now, and you can get more. But everyone can know what the program's topics are coming up for this year.
Also, Gary, we will have a poster with those listed on the Manchester University bulletin board on A Street.
Oh,
Let's make this one last question.
I didn't know you had such a bulletin board. It's fabulous.
Absolutely do.
It's great.
Does Lily have anything to do with what we're talking about here? Lily?
Lily.
Pharmacy.
Oh, as far as funding goes? Well, we have those 2 grants we're working on right this second. Is that what you're talking about? I mean, I know that the Lilly Endowment gave us $35 million to start the pharmacy program, but that's done. And that helped us build the pharmacy school to begin with. So they continue to give out grants. Right now, we're working on those 2, the Science of Reading and then that CCC grant to connect it with the community. So
I want to thank you all for coming.
Oh my goodness, me too.
There was a very good reason that we have about 60 people here. But I particularly want to thank President Young for being here.
Well, I hope I get invited again. This is a great time. Thank you. Oh wait, hold on. So sorry, I have to do this. I'll just do this, and then I'll do this. So, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.